Hey, hello again, everybody. It's Dan Sixsmith here, and we're in Dallas, Texas, and we are still at this exciting inaugural Sales Enablement Society conference. And I am actually pleased to have with me one of the founding members, Nicole O'Brien. Welcome, Nicole.
Hello, thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, we've been having a great time. And Nicole, tell us how you got involved in the Sales Enablement Society originally.
Originally, it was five of us that really just wanted to get together to do a meetup or a professional sort of exchange of ideas. And as we got sort of through it, it's a long, uninvolved story. But Scott Santucci, who is the one of the founders, he sent out a big email to everybody on his LinkedIn profile that was in the DC area, and and so we responded and got together, and we realized that there was a thread in all of our frustrations, just professionally. We were all in sales, marketing, in various industries. And what was cool was we realized that the frustrations were similar and the causes were very similar regardless of where we were, whether, what industry we were in or how big the organization was. There were still the same commonalities there. And we decided to just start meeting to talk about them and to see what other people are doing. And it really turned into like, wow, I think we have something here. And we ended up naming it the Sales Enablement Society because we were just talking about sales enablement because that really was the common thread. So we, made a nonprofit and started holding meetings, and word got out, and it just exploded. We have chapters all over the country. There's like 30 chapters now.
Wow.
So this was 2 years ago, and this is our second annual conference. The first one was down in Palm Beach, Florida, around this time last year, and we were terrified that nobody would come, right? And we got a couple hundred people there, flying in on their own time, on their own dime, to come and share. And it was extraordinary, it really was. And that was when we really knew we had something. And so we've started to build out and formalize things. We have a platform now online. It's SES. It's SESociety.org. You can go there, and there's all kinds of information. There's threads and feeds and plenty to sort of dig into. We've established work groups across the country, so we've got people that are really digging into practices and things that sort of just need to be talked about and figured out. Maybe put some kind of, not structure, but some advice around all that's going on and all that's not working. There's a lot of stuff that is working, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't working. So that's what we've been doing, and it's been pretty ambitious and pretty fun.
Yeah, it's amazing, and there's tremendous value in sharing, among
Yes.
practitioners. So I've heard this over and over, the last couple of days, like people just excited to talk to other people that are facing the same hurdles and
Yes.
able to share, some of the best practices or some of the, blow-ups or things that don't
It's
work,
true.
and, feeling like a bond with people.
It really is, and that was part of, I think, why it grew. It felt like a support group because we felt like we would always say we felt like the VPs of broken things. Like we would just come into an organization and everything was broken and we weren't sure how to connect it, and we weren't the only ones. So it was very, very, very cool to have that bond, and I think that's what's really there. And we're all volunteers. Nobody gets paid. And we come together and we share a lot of information. And I have learned so much from being, just around these other people that are in other areas of the business. And, I'm teaching and they're learning, and it's just this great exchange of ideas that one could never predict that this would be so successful.
Yeah, and I have to say, how many people do you think are here at this event?
Right. Well, we have 2,000 members now, and I think that there's at least 350,
Yeah,
something like
I was
that.
going to say. And really, I want to congratulate you guys because I've gone to a lot of conferences over the last, decade or so. I don't think I've ever seen one with a vibe that's so positive, number one, and just this element of just sharing and openness and welcoming.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. Everyone has been so friendly. Everyone is so approachable. Everyone so wants to help in whatever way they can.
Yes.
So kudos to you guys. It really has been a tremendous
Thank
experience here, and I think you guys are going to do great.
We actually designed this conference around the experience. So that was the first thing that we said. How is it? What's the experience going to be like? Because it needs to be like it was in Palm Beach, where everybody we were just all in. And we were taking things apart and putting things back together, and everybody was having just a great time. It was just a great time. So we wanted it to be a great time and really, really meaty, and the experience needed to be. So we wanted to have a whole lot of stuff going on. You could choose your own path. You weren't stuck in one place.
Right.
You didn't have two things to choose from. You have 5 tracks. You've got salons. You have meetups. You can just hang out and talk and find somebody. It's just
fantastic.
The conversations have been amazing. We've been doing a lot of social media. We've been doing a lot of video. It's been tremendous. It really has. We've been very, very happy.
Really exciting. So let's talk a little bit about sales.
Okay.
I host this podcast called Sales is King, and we bring in experts and we talk about the changing game of sales today. So I want to ask you, because you're coming at it from a marketing angle.
I am.
So let's talk about one near and dear to your heart, the alignment between marketing and sales. What is the current state and where you're trying to take it?
In my experience, my pet peeve has been the misalignment of marketing and sales. And anything that's in between, the sales ops that sits in between, and all of the other functions that come through. And, we are becoming more aligned. I have to say that I believe that we are becoming more aligned because we have to. And in the digital economy that's moving so quickly, and there are so many new features, there's so many new ways to sell, there's so many new platforms, there's so really new ways to measure things that we never had before, that we're all getting closer. It's becoming sort of one platform almost. It's hard to say. I can't find the word. Anyway, it really, we're more tightly aligned. And I think people are more aware. I know in my organization now, the sales team is really, really aware of what marketing is doing. And we talk to them every day. So that's part of
important.
Finding what they need and being able to take our creativity and our expertise in order to reach out into the market to give them what they need, right? So it's not about marketing driving what we think they need and telling sales, okay, this is what we'll get, this is what we'll fill your funnel, and you will be the star salesperson if you use this piece of, this piece of collateral, and we got this great new logo, and and the colors are beautiful, so they're going to
so
sign
golden
on the dotted line.
Right.
So it doesn't work that way anymore. I'm not sure that it ever did, but for some reason, we've been able to sell many things without any alignment there. And I think now with the technology, the alignment's necessary, and I think it's pushing us closer, which is the good news. So I'm thrilled about that, and I'm really seeing it take shape in my organization, which is great.
That's awesome. And it's really it's like aligning around the customer.
That's
what I mean?
Exactly right.
Because I keep hearing marketing and sales need to be aligned. And I'm like, yes, but how about aligned around the customer?
Right. And that really is the voice of the customer programs that have been emerging over the past couple of years. Everything needs to be about the customer. I think there's a whole new focus that never was there before, that really does nothing but say, what does the customer need, want, how do we
Exactly.
serve them?
Right.
And then marketing and sales actually get together and figure out what it is that we can give them that they need. Everything from product and solutions to how we communicate it and how to make them understand, or make it very simple for them to look at something and understand it and make a decision and move forward quickly. It's all about speed.
Yeah, speed. Fastest always wins today.
Always. Yeah.
So interesting. So we've been talking a lot on the podcast about how salespeople need to change, how their approach needs to change, how they need to become more subject matter experts, more strategic advisors. How have you seen it in your organization? How are the sales guys making that shift? Are they doing it successfully? One of the interesting thing was there was a study, a USC Marshall School of Business study said that buyers were looking for sales execs to be more strategic partners, but only 18% of salespeople were viewed as strategic partners. So it's a huge delta that I think we need to push from either a marketing enablement and sales. How are you kind of handling that on the sales conversation side?
Well, I think that sales have a big challenge because there's a lot of new media and there's a lot of new platforms. There's a lot of new things digitally that they can leverage now in order to move the needle, and they have to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
And those things keep changing.
Yeah.
So once they've learned it, you're constantly in this learning curve of the digital economy and social selling, and your personal brand.
Right.
It's more than just the company brand anymore. The salesperson has to consider their own brand, and that's
Absolutely.
how they position themselves as the trusted advisor, as the subject matter expert, as the guy that can come into an organization and say, this is what you should do. We can build this solution for you this way, and have all of that resonate and be trusted. So I think
Exactly.
Everything is changing, and I think they're doing great. Just keeping up. I mean, there's a lot of organizations are training. They're doing some really good training on social selling, and tools like Sales Navigator and things like that from LinkedIn. They're learning how to use those tools. They're learning how to use new plugins that can get them better data for the customer, better ways to reach out. I think that it's in transition. It's going to continue to transition. It's not going to be a steady state anymore. It's no longer just putting some collateral in a briefcase and getting in a car and going out.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think and I'd like to talk a little bit as our last question about social selling, because I listened to a great one yesterday with Jill Rowley, and the guys from SAP on that. And it's not like a lot of people think, oh, social selling is I'm going to start throwing out the same garbage emails in mail form, or I'm going to connect with somebody and within seconds I'm going to send them a short story on what I do, and that's not really what it is. What we learned yesterday was, of course, it's a lot about the research. It's a lot about being relevant. It's a lot about kind of your profile, as you mentioned. One of the big issues in this study was the number one reason buyers reject salespeople was trust. And think about digital. If someone's going to check you out and you're trying to sell them something and you don't have like a complete profile or an interesting profile, or you're doing stuff that says, oh, yeah, let me talk to them. This guy's or gal looks like they're kind of right in the thick of things. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, how you guys are leveraging it, and, kind of where you see that going in the future.
I think social profiles are probably one of the most important aspects of your personal brand. And now, whether anybody likes it or not, you have to have a personal brand. You're going to have a personal brand, and if you don't create your own and manage it, one will be created for you, and
Yeah.
you'll
Right.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
So you really don't
Right.
you don't have the choice anymore. And social selling programs, yeah, I think they've been dismissed, especially by sales, because it looks like in the beginning it was, oh, it's just this fly by night thing. It's just, my teenagers are using social, like nothing that I could do to sell on it, and it's more than that. The As social media has emerged as a consumer and business carrier, it carries information. It really has become all about content, and that content has to be successful needs to be all around the customer. So what are the customer needs? What are the pain points?
Right.
All of that. So that salesperson needs to become that trusted advisor through that content, by sharing that content, by being able, to speak to it. There's all kinds of ways to reach out, and it's actually become much easier to connect with a buyer because everything is flat now. All of it, the organizations are flat. If you need to speak to a CEO of a company, you can find them on LinkedIn, get their email address, and email them, right? You could never do that.
Right. You
10
used to have to
years
go
ago.
through the gatekeepers and the phone
10
calls,
years ago,
and you'd
had
be
to
blocked
be,
out.
yeah, exactly.
Right? And you'd be sending mail that was going in the trash.
Exactly. And nobody, yes, and social selling is not email marketing at all.
Right.
It is, we've been teaching our sales teams that you can read social media in a way of watching trends within the social platforms, watching trends, watching clients, watching potential customers, knowing when there's a shift, knowing when to reach out, knowing what to send. It's very, you can really gauge the sales cycle and trends and movement, and you can even detect acquisitions and all of that. So it really is a huge pile of information that you need to navigate, but that's taught, right? It's taught. I mean, you have to be taught that, right? It's not intuitive. So that's what we're trying to arm sales with now. And so that's what in the last couple of organizations that I've been involved with, we have had social selling programs. We put them together, and part of that is making sure that their LinkedIn profiles are complete and relevant, and their headlines are relevant, and making sure that they have a professional picture.
Right.
We bring in headshot photographers.
That's so great. Yeah.
And do the whole thing. So we did that. I rolled one out. It was a national program, and then it ended up globally. There are other regions that picked up, the program and just kind of, program in a box and just laid it over.
Fantastic.
And so we were able to get, most of the global organization up with a similar, similar look and feel, similar description of the company, that kind of thing. So it was all very aligned and very branded. So social's not going away.
No, it's just getting going.
Yeah,
I
it
think.
is.
But
And
as
now
you
look
say,
at
changing.
video, right?
Yeah, now we're sitting here on video and having a great time. Well, this has been great. I want to congratulate you on a tremendous event and
Thank you.
wish you the best of luck with this and everything you're doing in your current job. And thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for joining
Appreciate
us, Nicole O'Brien.
Thanks
It's been
so
a
much.
pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
You got it.